And we're back with Legends of Lake Howell. Today our guests are musicians from the group VoicePlay. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Let's take a moment to introduce ourselves to our audience.
Okay. I'm Layne Stein, class of 99.
My name is Geoff Castellucci. I'm also class of 99.
And I'm Kathy Castellucci, formerly Palazzolo, class of 1995.
We are married. We did not get married in high school.
And her dad used to be the choir teacher
All right, the choir
back
teacher.
when we were in school.
So how did you start? How did this start?
Okay, sure. Yes. Well, as I just said, we were in choir together. And her dad, Mr. Powell, was enthusiastic about trying to get separate groups also singing together in addition to the big group. So me and Jeff, Earl, and who else was it?
Michael Kilgore.
Michael Kilgore.
All on Broadway.
Started to practice barbershop music and doo-wop and all this other stuff. And it kind of sounded pretty good when we were doing it. And that's kind of how it just started in the choir room with the four of us.
So why the barbershop music and doo-wop, the a cappella? What inspired that?
Oh, thank you. Well, at the time, we just loved a cappella music. We just had a love for it. So we were trying to sing anything that we could get our hands on that was like 4-part, 5-part a cappella harmony. So barbershop was the thing that the school had access to. So we were doing all the barbershop books. And then we started branching out into other styles of music, and we would like perform at people's birthday parties for pizza and
We all have to
bagel
start from
shops.
somewhere.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that was the thing. So that's kind of how it started, and then we just stuck with it. And did you think we'd still be doing it
No.
25 years later?
Definitely not.
Me either.
Now, did you have the same name that you have now, VoicePlay, or what was the name of the group at the time?
The name of the group at the time was For the Love. Now, bear in mind, this was like the golden age of boy bands, so having a number in your name was like the thing to do. And then we added a fifth guy who became our vocal percussionist, which is like boom, boom, chick.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And his name was Scott Porter,
Uh-huh.
Who's now a movie star.
yeah, he's a movie star. You can look him up. He did Friday Night Lights,
Ginny in Georgia.
Ginny in Georgia, and he became our fifth member, so that's how we went from 4 to 5.
And now we're voice play.
So in terms of like writing your own music, how does that creative process work? Is it a little different because your voices are instruments? So how does that work, that creative process when you're writing songs?
Yeah, it's fairly different than picking up a guitar and some drums, and like creating tracks in that direction. We have to arrange our voices in a way where it sounds really full, like a full band. So he sings bass, I do drums, two of the guys sing kind of like background parts, and one of the guys will be singing lead at any given moment. And it always switches off, and everyone has to kind of figure out what we're doing for the whole song. And we figure that out ahead of time and kind of pre-record everything so everybody can learn their own tracks and figure out what they're doing for the song. But yes, it's a bizarre process for sure.
So how does it work? Do you go in like a studio and you say, okay, we're planning to write a song today, or you just inspired and you write a song, you write a song, you call everyone and say, hey, I've got an idea. How does that work? How does that process work?
We used to sit around together, the 4 or 5 of us, however many there were at the time, and we would just woodshed something. We I've got this idea, so I'd start with a bass line, and he'd throw in some drums, and someone would start with melody, and we do that process for a long time. It's pretty labor intensive, and as you can imagine, it would just go on for hours. So over the years, we've streamlined it, and one person will have an idea, and they'll record that either into their iPhone or into
Like a
home recording studio. We all have studios at the house. And then it just gets sent around, and then everybody will add their own thing, and then we end up with the final product, which we'll be filming here today.
Yeah. But as far as original music, we don't typically work a whole lot on original music. It's usually covers, so a song that you hear on the radio or on a Broadway show or an oldie will get transformed into something that's a little bit more our style.
So how do you select a song to cover? Is it something that it has a certain sound that says, man, I want to do that song, or is it, how does that work?
I think it's a combination of, man, I really want to work on this song. I wonder if the other guys will feel the same way. Sometimes not. And like, do we think this will transform into a cappella well? Like, does it have a guitar solo? How would we even pull that off? Maybe that's not the right song for us. Maybe we should do this. Does it have a piano solo? Oh my God, what do we do with that part? You know what I mean? Like so many things go into the decision making of a song. So we do all kinds though.
Do you have a favorite?
Do we have a favorite song? Do
Yes.
do we have a favorite song? Do you have a favorite song?
Oh, there's so many to choose from. Which one do I like the most?
In terms of performing.
In terms of
enjoy as
performing, okay, so
yeah.
we used to tour a lot
Okay.
before the pandemic. That
Okay.
was the main thing that we did, and then that kind of reshaped our whole world, as it kind of did for everybody.
Yeah.
So now we're focusing mostly on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We have pretty good following on all those platforms, but so we still tour on occasion, but it's like small one-off things. We don't really get a chance to perform live all that much, but if I had to choose one song to do, it's this piece we call it The Crimp. And it's just like, it's 4 minutes of every gibberish thing you've ever heard in a song put into one song. And it starts in one spot and it ends up somewhere totally different. And people have never, we used to do it live like every show, and people had never heard anything like it before. And they would just lose their minds. So that was a fun one to do. That was always a challenge too, because it's like so many key changes and rhythm changes, and it was just fun to perform.
That was a great answer.
Thank you.
So you mentioned
I arranged that one.
touring. What were some of the challenges that you faced with touring?
Oh, you love touring.
You know, back when we were much younger, touring was much easier. We didn't really have families at the time. We were all single, or maybe we had some girlfriends, and it was easy to like kind of get up and leave for 6 months at a time, or like maybe it was like 3 months and then back 3 months. That was really easy. We weren't old and broken. But I think some of the challenges that we've faced during those is communicating with the venue that we were performing at, like our needs, and making sure what we needed was met, and that's hard. There are so many details that Kathy can attest to. She helps us kind of manage all of that. There's so many details that inevitably something gets lost or messed up, forgotten. So like reiterating those details and making sure people are on top of things is such a full-time job for so many people.
Go ahead.
If I can just tack onto that too,
Yeah.
it sounds like a romantic notion to like be on the road and travel, and it can be for a time. But I think for me the most difficult thing was just the grind of it all, like driving from city to city. We did 2 tours with pretty major company, and we were on a tour bus with 8. There were 5 of us, and then there were 6 of us at the time, and then there were 6 other people, so 12 people on a tour bus. And just trying to sleep on a bus, and eating all your meals someone else is cooking for you. It's not always the greatest sleep or food, or it's hard to take care of yourself when you're on the road. So if you're doing it at an extremely high level, which we were never quite able to do, it's probably a little easier. But for us, I mean, it was a grind.
Yeah, it was great.
It was a labor of love,
Taxing.
but it was a grind.
I would also say that for me and all of us, because I did their client booking relations, you have so many other people that you're working with that you don't work with on a regular basis. Every single show, it's different people. And so whereas now when we work, it's basically just us. So we have a lot more control over the situation, doing video production for ourselves, rather than booking these theaters all over the country, and you basically have a new staff to work with every single day. So, yeah.
So was there, or is there a particular venue that you like to, where you like to perform? Are all venues the same to you?
What was the one in Nashville?
The Ryman.
Oh yeah, the Ryman was incredible. Incredible energy, incredible sound, and that's in Nashville. That was a really fun venue.
So in terms of performing live, and you notice the crowd may be not as energetic, what do you do to get the crowd kind of into it?
Oh, they eventually come around.
Yeah. Well, we came from. I mean, obviously, like we're here in Orlando, and so we came from. High school, but then also a lot of us worked at the theme parks. So we're used to trying to pull that out of people. And I think, Kathy and I both worked on the streets at Universal for a couple of years, just watching people just walk by as we were singing at them. So my relationship with the audience is definitely combative. Like, I do not hold back. If someone's not giving it, then we're just like, hey, quit being terrible. Be a better audience. And that generally works. Yeah.
So in looking at this setup, you're more than just singers, and I don't want to put you in a box. So what are some of the other things that you do?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think we learned really early on that we couldn't necessarily afford to hire people out, and that was kind of where we started. So when we first started, we were figuring out, how do we record ourselves to sound good, and how do we mix ourselves to sound good? So we had to kind of figure it out on our own, and then it eventually moved into, oh gosh, YouTube is now a thing. We're going to have to figure out how to make videos. And we slowly kind of figured out lighting, cameras, the technology that kind of goes along with it, and maybe something even as complicated as this, where Ellie, one of the members, has to figure out the 3D scene and the assets that go inside the scene, and how to connect with the computers, and how to connect the lights, the computers, and the camera, the tracking all together at the same time. So yeah.
Yep. And Layne's kind of oversimplifying, because he's saying we kind of figured it out on our own. We did do a lot of hustle and research on our own, but something Layne's really good at, and especially when he was younger, was just not being afraid to make a phone call to somebody. Like, I don't know how to do this, but I know this guy does. And a couple of those folks seemed a little out of reach. Like, I'm thinking about like Andy Heermans and Jeff Thatcher at the time. These are, so when we were starting out to do audio recording, we didn't really know how to do it. But a couple, like, you went up and spent some time in New York with interning for a couple studios. And we had Kathy make 1,000 phone calls, and we found our camera guy back here, Matt. We've had a couple over the years, and but it's just been a lot of that. Like, never be afraid to make a phone call and ask some questions.
Now, and I've had an opportunity to see your videos. A lot of them have some elaborate setups. Like, what inspires the video setups that you have?
I think the music inspires the visual. And a lot of times when we're concepting the project, it's like, I have this idea. I want to do this song with this. I don't want to do this song in a forest. I want to do this song in another universe. I think that excites us, some of us, the most. Is like being able to kind of like play different characters in a different universe is really fun.
Yeah, immediately my head goes back to the Panic in, was it Panic in 4, Panic in 5?
Right, yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it's just like you just find a cool location, and like, we have to film something here. Like, we filmed in a it was an old rundown sawmill in, was it in
Palatka, Florida.
In Palatka, Florida.
Palatka, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was like there were no facilities, no utility. I mean, it was just like decrepit, abandoned.
Yeah.
Snakes. We were chained to chairs for 12 hours while the camera guy and lighting crew worked around us. It was something.
I think that with these guys, a lot of it is sort of like sky's the limit. I mean, we are limited, but we try not to be. So it's just about researching. We get on the phone, we say, this is what we want to do, and then, we'll just try and find whatever we can, hire the people that we can to make it happen. So.
Yeah, sometimes we don't know enough not to do something. Like, we're not smart enough to understand that we shouldn't do that, so we just do it.
And, you know, a lot of times we'll get on the set and be like, ooh, what if we did this? And like when we were at this strange place in Palatka where we actually had to like kind of break in just to get in.
Don't do that.
We had permission to break in. The guy didn't show up and he was like, just break in. So we got in, we were like, ooh, what if we did it here? And what if we added this thing? And what if we added like a ticking time bomb? And like, so we had so many ideas once we saw the place and understood where we were.
So today's backdrop that we have today, let's talk about that. What's the theme here? What are we?
Cyberpunk.
Is it? I don't know.
I think it is.
Is it cyberpunk? I have no idea.
It's cyberpunk.
No one told me. I just showed up.
We're actually on a rooftop in the future, I believe, in some place that we don't know. It's not a real place. It's like New York and Japan, kind of, and a UFO, a black hole.
Right.
But the song that we're doing is called Black Hole Sun.
Okay.
It's from the 90s.
No, it's just
It's what's the
Soundgarden.
Soundgarden.
Yeah.
And this is Ellie's brainchild. And
Yeah. Here, go ahead, please.
As you can kind of see back there, the set itself is built, but the pallets are just set, and he kind of threw some leaves, and now we're just waiting until we can get everybody in the scene, and then we'll try and start deciding like, well, what are we going to use these pallets? How are we going to use them? Maybe we can create some levels. So there's a little bit of work to be done once we get all 5 of the singers in the scene, and then you make more decisions once that happens.
So it's a continuous creative process that you have in terms of making a video.
It is. It's in flux until it's done. You know, we have deadlines. We try to release something big like this every single month, so we're trying to hit that deadline. So every 4 weeks there's something new coming out, and then there's little bitty things that come out on Instagram and TikTok in between those. So it's just as soon as one is done, we're on to the next one, and then on to the next one, and on to the next one. Yeah.
And I've noticed that you had some guest singers in some of your videos as well. Is it someone that you would like to work with in the future, or have you had a favorite in the past that you enjoy working with?
Should we just say that Anthony's our favorite because he's here today? Yeah,
that makes sense.
Anthony Gargiulo. He's actually a local as well. I'm not sure where he went to high school, but he's now in LA. And if you don't know Anthony, find him, because Anthony Gargiulo, he's on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Fantastic voice, much younger than we are, and he's incredible. He's my favorite.
Yeah, and typically when we collaborate with other people, it's just like, ooh, I would really like to work with this person. And they're kind of sort of like in our same sphere, and we'll just try to email them or try to get a hold of them in some way. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 emails, and then we'll get a hold of somebody. Sometimes people just aren't available, or they're too busy or not interested. But sometimes we get lucky.
So you mentioned high school. So let's talk about high school and your experience at Lake Howell, because we're all Lake Howell graduates.
Yeah.
If you could describe your experience at Lake Howell in one word, what word would it be? If you can pick one word.
You want to go first?
Fun.
You had fun?
I had fun, yeah.
I had some fun. Yeah. Transformative.
I'd say friendships. I just had a lot of lasting friendships.
Now, in addition to chorus, did you participate in any other activities, be it sports or clubs?
Why don't you start?
Sure, I
You
did.
do a bunch.
I did soccer and robotics and choir. That was basically it for high school. What did you do?
Yeah, so I was going to be in the band, but Layne talked me into being in chorus, so I ended up being in chorus. And I also ran cross country and track, and I was one of the only pole vaulters at the time at Lake Howell. I think that was it. Go ahead. What were you?
I don't know. I graduated before you guys.
Sure did.
I was actually in the Silver Regiment marching band for all 4 years of high school, and that was great. And I only joined choir my senior year. So.
Really? I didn't know that.
refused
Yeah.
be in your dad's class?
What's that?
You refused to be in your dad's class?
I just wasn't into singing. I didn't start singing until my senior year. So I played flute and piccolo in the marching band, and that to me was like the best part of high school. That was like that's where I gained all of those long-lasting friendships. I still talk to those people today, and just great memories there.
So your dad was also a teacher at Lake Howell. What was that experience like?
I thought it was great. I love my dad. He's fun. I think he was one of the teachers that was he was very encouraging to his students. He was fun. He was silly. And so he was, it was great for me. And and being in his choir was fun as well. And I met these guys, and we've just, well, I graduated before you, but I met them because I came in to sing with my a cappella group the year after I graduated, and they were freshmen. And so that's how I met these guys, and we all kind of started running in the same circles, and we just have stayed together in whatever capacity for years. So.
All right, so I'm going to put the three of you on the spot. And did you have a favorite teacher, or who inspired you the most?
Okay. I had this really great math teacher. His name was Mr. Bouch. And I remember him vividly because I wasn't really into math at the time. And somehow he trained my brain into really liking it. And it ever since then, I've tried really hard in math. I got really good at it. And then I went on to do engineering in college, and it really helped me. And also Mr. Powell was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I would say Mr. Powell as well from chorus, but also I'm not sure if he was around my senior year, but Coach Paku taught biology my freshman year, and I really enjoyed his class. I loved that.
So other than your dad,
Is it going to be weird if I don't say my
he's gotta
dad?
be first on the list, right?
Well, no, I would actually say the two band directors that I had throughout that time. The first one was Howard Weinstein, and he really he was great. He got us a lot of resources. He pushed us into these competitions, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, hard work, but it was really inspiring. And then Mr. Watford, he kind of took us on 3 years in, and he was great. Just really good people, and just really inspired us to do a lot.
So if you can go back in time, if we had a time machine, let's say that's our theme, and you could give yourself a word of advice, what would you say to yourself in high school?
I don't know. Well, you answer that.
Oh, invest in Bitcoin.
That's a good one.
Problem solved.
I would say diversify. Learn different skills. If you have one thing that you're really good at, definitely go for that. But make sure you're learning new things along the way. You never know what can happen. Just long story short, I was singing for quite some time. I lost my hearing. I wear hearing aids now, and I didn't know that was going to happen. It was unexpected. So just you never really know what can happen. Being able to learn other skills along the way, you can maybe call on something else, which is what put me in this position, just in case. You just never know. So pick up as many skills as you can along the way. Don't just focus on just one thing. That's what I would say to myself.
That's super smart.
That was really good. I don't know if I can beat that. Yeah, I mean, I would say I feel like when I was in school, I kind of took it really seriously, and I might tell myself to just lighten up just a little bit, maybe have a little more fun. Not to say that you should only have fun, but yeah, I was a pretty good straight A student, and I maybe could have enjoyed myself a little more. Because you said you had a lot of fun in high school,
I did, yeah.
and I was like, I feel like I was a little stressed out, and I would have told myself to just relax a little bit. Everything's going to work out just fine.
I would say a word of advice is everything gets harder after high school. High school is it's so fun, and then if you end up going to college or getting a job, it's just real world after high school. So it's if you just gotta go on to that next step, build up, and do it.
What would you say to our students who are aspiring musicians? What advice would you give them if they're looking to go into the music business?
Probably something very similar to what Kathy just said, is learn more than one thing. This is something that we always say, if you're a singer, learn an instrument. If you're an instrumentalist, learn another instrument, or learn how to sing, learn how to write music, learn how to transcribe music. Learn as many things about music as possible as you can, because you never know what your next step is going to be, and you never know how exactly you're going to get from point A to point B. You can definitely do it, but it might be like
For sure, that was a good one. Yeah, diversify is huge. Also, maintain your networks. You know, there are more opportunities now for musicians, I think, than there ever have been. Music is in everything, and there's more opportunities to make a living being in music with streaming services and video. And I mean, everybody has a recording studio in the palm of their hand these days. So if you're interested in that, just start. Just put stuff out there. You'll get 100 dislikes before you get your first like. But, you know, if you want to do it, there is a path, and it's way more linear than it used to be. I feel like you had to have it. There were gatekeepers. You had to know somebody in the industry. But these days, it's just like, just Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, go. You know.
The advice I'd give would be to try to have a thick skin, because as a musician, as a singer, people love to critique you, you know, just all along the way. And especially now with social media being so big, and anybody can comment on whatever you're putting out in the world.
Right, yeah.
It's important to just ground yourself and remember who you are, what you're, you know, what you want to create is what you want to create, and try not to let all of that stuff beat you down, you know, because it will happen quite a lot along the way.
That was excellent.
That was excellent, and that's a perfect ending. Thank the three of you for joining us, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to hear some of your singing at some point.
Brilliant. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Boiling heat, summer stench, need the black, the sky looks dead. Call my name through the cream, and I'll hear you scream again. Black hole sun, won't you come?